Hello friends, the topic which we are going to discuss today is contemporary political thought part 1, and the personality we are going to discuss is Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, so called as Lenin. Friends, as you all know, Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov was a Russian leader who inspired the people of Russia and was an iconic figure of the Russian Revolution. He was born in 1901 and commonly known with his pseudonym Lenin, which was adopted by him in his writing. So he was a charismatic leader of the Russian Social Democratic Labour Party, which were also called the Bolsheviks, who showed vision and determination in changing the economic, political, and ideological foundation of the society of Russia at that time. So he was much more also popular for his personal cult, the personality he's used to carry around himself, and of course for his works. He was died in 1924. He was one of the most instrumental leader in the October Revolution and formed socialist government in Russia and outruled Tsar and capitalist government in Russia. Lenin is also known as the best pupil, we can say, of Karl Marx. However, later on in his works, he made a departure from the acute ideology of Marx, but still he followed the principle of Karl Marx and established his own version. As I was telling you, there was a slight departure from the principle of Marx, so he established his own version referred as Leninism. Political ideology of Lenin. So he was a staunch Marxist, as I told you. Lenin strongly believed in the works of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. As you know, Karl Marx proposed a Marxism which was born out of the class struggle theory, and Karl Marx used to believe that one day the people, the labor class, the egalitarians will resurrect and attain the power, acquire this society. He was a leader of proletarians and firmly believed that in the end the humans will attain a classless, stateless, and egalitarian society. Egalitarian in the sense where there is a equal distribution of resources. So egalitarian society in which workers will be owner of themselves. There will not be the owners. The worker will be the owner of their works, we can say, will be the owner of their whatever they are invested into, how much they are earning. The state, we can say, the state will be the owner, and in that state the people will be the stakeholder. So people will directly own the country. So to establish that in Russia, he imagined a government which fully controlled the resources of the country. As I told you in the first point, the egalitarian society believes that so if we say that particular society is egalitarian in nature, so it means it is equal. Everybody is equal into that. Everybody is having equal stake in the state. So Lenin also used to believe that a government should be there in which all the citizens of the country should be the employee of the state and they should work for themselves. He also viewed a centrally planned view of government, which was practically operated firstly in Russia and the whole of the world. And many countries after that also applied this form of planning in their country. As I already mentioned in the slide, some of the components of the centrally planned economic structure of the country was also applied in India after independence, as in the planning commission. So what were the views of Lenin about democracy? Lenin used to believe that representative democracy was an ambiguous form, is a flawed form of democracy. It provides the illusion of democracy, but in real, In reality, that is not the democracy. It is actually an illusion provided by the bourgeois class to benefit themselves. But the common people, the common class used to think that they are actually living in a democracy. What Lenin said, he said no. This is not the real form of democracy. So what is as the topic is contemporary political thought, so how the political thoughts of Lenin are applicable in contemporary issues. As Lenin was a revolutionary in nature, so the present government of Russia, this point is very important for you to note down, to remember in your marks also, in your exams also, that the Lenin was a revolutionary in nature. So whatever that is established, what have been turned into customs, traditions, Lenin used to shake that. Lenin was a view that old customs should be shaken down. So Lenin, there was a 150th anniversary of Lenin in the year 2020 in the month of April, but it was not celebrated in the way as it was celebrated when it turned his 100th anniversary. Okay, because Russia is now establishing itself in the world order. So the present government, we can say, this is a critique sort of thing. You should remember that how the theory of Lenin are applicable in his own country, how the things change. So Lenin was a revolutionary. He used to challenge the customs. So the present government of Russia is keeping itself at a distance from the thoughts of Lenin, which was reflected and was also create a buzz around the world when there was a 150th anniversary of Lenin in the month of April 2020. It was not celebrated that way as it was when it was his 100th anniversary. Lenin's explanation of Marxist ideology and his towards establishing socialism as an alternative of capitalism gained substantial coverage all over the world. And he also presented a new view towards the governance, which was actually new, and it was the most established government the world has seen first time in the 1920s, 1930s. This was the first experiment. Russia was amongst the very first experiments of socialism. So now if we talk about the works that Lenin created, that Lenin did, Lenin considered capitalism as an evil for the society, and further on he would have been gone to say that evil turned into the most worst form when it turned into imperialism. So capitalism is itself bad, but imperialism is its worst form. The capitalism, when reached to its zenith, it turned into imperialism. Lenin also believed in peace and a more centralized economy of Russia. That is why Russia remained neutral in the First World War in order to save the resources of Russia from that catastrophic event. He considered First World War as a result of capitalism. It is very important here to consider. He considered First World War as a result of imperialism. Okay. So now the questions which can be asked from you in your examination about Lenin, most important contribution of Lenin into contemporary thoughts. So what are the contributions of Lenin? His contribution towards establishment of a socialist society and the central planning which he applied in Russia, which actually record a precedence for the other countries of the world. Does the socialism of Lenin was an answer to capitalism? We can say, partly we can say, but there is a detailed explanation of this. He sees socialism not as an economical or political thing. He sees socialism as an answer to the questions which used to stand in front of the policymaker and the common people. Third question, Lenin's political ideology was more than a personal belief. It was an economic requirement of contemporary Russia. Yes. Whatever the political ideology Lenin used to carry, it was actually the requirement of contemporary Russia in the 19th, in the first and second decades of the 20th century. So Lenin was also forced, we can say, and his political views were arised from those sociological scenarios. Fourth question, central planning is in early independent India was influenced by Russian way of planning. Yes, this question has already been asked in some of the examination. Yes, the central way of planning the economic resources was actually was a lesson learned from the Russian way of planning.